Hi friends, I am super excited about what we're talking about today because it is a topic that is near and dear to my heart, not just as a therapist, but definitely as a person, and one that I have seen transform my own life and that of my clients. And so today we're gonna dig into the secret ingredient that will literally diffuse every conflict. It will heal wounds. It will give you a key to unlock loving others. And so let's take a look. We all know that one of our basic needs is truly to be seen and heard and understood. And have any of you ever been in a conflict with somebody that you love and heard them say, "I just don't think you get it. I don't feel like you understand where I'm coming from." Or maybe you've been the one to say those words. And when you hear that, or when you feel that, that is the indication that most definitely the secret ingredient is not present. Your secret ingredient that actually diffuses conflict and brings relationships together is called validation. Emotional validation is when we give somebody the gift of feeling seen, heard, and understood. In short, if we were to use just like a one-word synonym for validation, it would be acceptance. And so when somebody is in a conflict with us, oftentimes we skip this step. And I have seen marriages dissolve over this. I've seen parents and children come together and actually heal and mend painful memories because one party or the other finally felt validated. They felt seen, heard, and understood. When I was doing my graduate degree, I was actually part of a seminary program. It was so powerful to meet a professor who understood the art of validation in a powerful way. And he actually totally changed my life by the way that he used it. He became sort of like a father figure to me. I had a strained relationship with my own father. And this man was a professor in one of my hermeneutics classes. Who would have guessed? And he just actually sort of treated me like a dear friend. And I felt like even though there might have been 50 years between us, and he had written like 500 books on holiness, he was amazing. He communicated the love of Jesus in such a powerful way. As I was navigating my relationship with my father and how to love him well while still learning to have boundaries with some pretty tough behavior on his part, he and I had some phone calls, and I will actually never forget what he said to me, because coming from him, it actually carried a lot of weight because it was a man I respected and he was a Christian man. And when I was talking to him about my experience, he didn't judge me. He didn't say, "Oh, you shouldn't feel that way." He didn't say, "You need to forgive right away." He said, "You know, Dawn, no wonder you feel that way. I mean, I totally would have felt that way myself, and I can't imagine why you would feel any differently." And he went on to fill that out, and I cannot even tell you, again, this feeling of sort of a peace or a balm washing over me. It was like someone finally got it. Somebody finally saw that my heart was to love, and yet I had experienced these icky things, and I just needed someone to see me in the midst of it and to validate my heart. And that's exactly what he was able to do. And I think what is so cool about it is his words propelled me forward. When I experienced that validation, it allowed me then to move on and to say, all right, so this is how I felt. This is how I experienced it. And now, what am I gonna do about it? Am I gonna stay stuck and be a victim of these things? No, I'm going to be empowered, and I'm gonna invite Jesus into the dark corners of my heart to dust away the cobwebs and the lies from the enemy that have snuck in through this experience, and I am going to overcome. I am going to have victory. And this is exactly what you can do for others in your life, is you can actually be part of the springboard that launches them into empowerment, overcoming, victory, breakthrough when they get to the other side of their pain. But first, we have to see it. We have to see it and walk with them. The key to validation is really to be able to see somebody else for their heart. They say that the definition of empathy is to actually be able to slip into someone else's shoes and imagine life from their perspective. This is a powerful thing for us to do, and I would argue that a lot of people in today's world have lost complete touch with empathy and the ability to relate in that way. And so I think that makes this quality even more prized in today's society and culture, and so rare. And when you are able to offer it to someone else, it's incredible how they feel loved and accepted. Most importantly, are understood by you. It causes breakthrough to happen. This simple act can look something like this. I totally understand where you're coming from. No wonder you feel that way. Oh, if that had happened to me, I would completely feel the same way that you do. These are statements that really answer the deep down question that most of us are asking when we are expressing our hearts. And it kind of comes down to, am I crazy? Am I off base? And validation says, no. Validation says, your feelings and your heart are true and valid. Validation says, your experience is true and valid. And so there is such power in letting people know that it's okay to be where they are. Validation is the first step in allowing them to feel seen and heard and understood. And it is a gift. Like, as you're listening to me, you can probably think of friends who have done this for you, or family members who have been able to communicate this to you in different ways. The way that you know that you've been validated is like this balm to your soul, just like washes over you. It is such a powerful experience. And again, it's answering that deep down question that we all sort of are asking, like, am I okay? Do you accept what I'm giving to you right now? I mean, this is raw, real, authentic, it's transparent, and it's not always pretty, right? And so I think when we are able to validate, people feel that sense of love and acceptance unconditionally. And I think that leads us into our next point. Validation allows us to totally acknowledge and verify somebody's experience without necessarily agreeing with how they experienced it. We might have all been at the same event and someone might have said something hurtful, and your friend might have actually internalized it in a completely different way, and it was still valid for her. Her experience still matters. It doesn't mean that we have the right answer. We're coming from a completely different perspective, and it really isn't helpful or loving to argue the details. The objective of that relationship is to love and connect. And so again, we want to say, wow, you know, I did not experience it that way, and I can totally see where you're coming from. What we can do is give them a gift of saying, I understand. It is so simple. I feel like if I could scream anything from the mountaintops, this would be it. And honestly, I think it's because I came from a place of not receiving validation and realized this is a missing piece. If I can help you to embrace this art of validation, you will truly unlock so many aspects of relationships that you didn't even know were there. You're going to experience so much fulfillment, and you're also going to be loving people well. And isn't that what we want to do as believers? I want to be loving people well. With Jesus, he was so awesome at loving the person in front of him. I want to aspire to be like that. I want to love the person in front of me by validating their experience, their feelings, and I want to truly discover empathy and compassion for them, regardless of judgment. It's not my place. It really isn't my place. It's not a loving thing. I want to walk in love and connection. And the best news ever as believers is that even if someone that we are close to is unable to do the validation, Jesus is always available to validate where we stand. I'll close with a silly story. When I was a young mom, I had all my kids close together, like, wow, just so close together. So boom, 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 we had 3 babies, all under 3. And I remember one day I was scrubbing the toilets and I was mad about it. I did not feel appreciated. I did not feel like seen nobody was watching me clean the toilets. I was totally in that place of invisible motherhood where I didn't feel like anyone understood my life. And I'm sure there were like 20 other moms on my street doing the very same thing at that time. But that was my experience. I just felt invisible. I felt like the stuff that I did totally didn't matter in the eternal picture of things. And I remember just like crying out to God because nobody was there to validate me. And I prayed and I was like, Jesus, I just need you to validate me right now and where I'm at. I just need to know that you see me. And I literally felt his whisper to my heart. And suddenly I saw him right there with me in the bathroom. And he told me, the work that you're doing right now is eternal. And I was like, oh, scrubbing toilets is eternal work? But he showed me in that moment that he saw a beauty in my heart of laying down my life and my will and my wishes for that moment in my life to serve my family. And he saw it as a beautiful thing. And that is one example of how Jesus can validate us in such a powerful way. Can I tell you that every time I scrub the toilets, even to this day, I mean, it's been like 13 years, and I still think about that. When I scrub the toilets, I think, this matters. This is very important, eternal work. And so I just want to encourage you to invite Jesus to play this role in your life. Humans, they get it wrong all the time. We can't give all our power away to other people to give us what we need. And so we can go to the Lord and we can say, help me out with this one, Lord. I'm just not feeling understood. And he will whisper to your heart a word of life and it will stick with you. So what does this really look like? I think the first step as we are embracing a lifestyle of love and connection with other people and wanting to actively, intentionally validate people's experience, the first thing we got to do is humble ourselves, right? We have to realize it doesn't matter if their perspective is right, wrong, or indifferent. What matters is that I validate where they're coming from. What people don't always realize is that unless somebody experiences validation, they often cannot move forward. So validation is one of the early keys to healing. The bottom line is we have to find compassion. We have to imagine what it was like to be that person. One word of caution. Husbands want to fix it. If you're a wife and you're listening to this broadcast, you are probably aware that a lot of times men struggle with validation because they struggle with their spouses being in pain and they just want to fix it. This happens all the time. And of course, we understand these men love their women and they don't want them to be in pain and they see a solution. And so they are like, well, you should just try this. Without the validation, there is no fixing. I often have been known to quote to my husband, honey, the fixing is in the validation. That's all I need. I do not need a solution. Nope. I need to know that you've heard me, that you've understood me, that you've seen my heart. Once you realize that this is the missing piece, we tend to avoid the escalation of conflict because typically when conflict escalates in marriage or otherwise, it's because one person is not feeling heard, seen, or understood. And so I often will counsel couples to lead with validation and watch the conflict diffuse. Then you can move to the resolution. And so it can be such a powerful tool, both in marriage work, but also in your own personal life. I want to validate you first and foremost, that whatever you have experienced in your lifetime, be it trauma, painful memories, an insult from a friend, all of that is true and valid. And now that I've said that to you, no wonder you felt that way. Then we can move forward and we can say, all right, what am I going to do about it? What's the truth about this situation? Jesus, will you shed some light on this? I would like to challenge you to humble yourself this week, to be super intentional about finding compassion, about loving others well by validating who they are and what they've experienced and how they feel about it. And I can't wait to hear about what this unlocks in your life and relationships.